Hi, it's Joanna here, aka Mrs. Marvellous, and the other day I did a video on how to make your own face visor, and several of people have been in touch to ask me to do a video on how I did my face masks that I posted about the other day, like this one here. So that's what we're going to do. Unfortunately, I don't have my able assistant with me. He's upstairs doing his uni assignment and I'm not going to be stopping that going on. So we're on our own. It's going to get messy, but bear with me. Let's get going. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is your design and your template. Now, this is a Riley Blake design that I got from YouTube, and I had to download the template. So what I've tried to do here is put the template in the video so you've got it all in one go. And the way I recreated it was to draw in a rectangle that is 17 centimetres by 11 centimetres. And then once you've got that rectangle, you're going to come in from this bottom edge by 2.5 centimetres, and on this side by 1.5 centimetres. And if you just make marks there and there, then you're going to draw out a line from this mark going up to where those two lines intersect, and then the same from this mark here up to the top there. So your top line will be 17 centimetres, and then the line down here should be 13 centimetres. Then your side should be 11 centimetres, and this side should be 11.5 centimetres. The other marks you're going to need are for the nose and the chin, because this mask is actually quite tailored, it's shaped to your face. So you're going to have to go along here by 2 centimetres and make a mark, and 4 centimetres and make a mark, and then join those two up, and that longest dart is going to be for your nose. Then we're going to go up here 2 centimetres and along by 2 centimetres, join those two up, and that dart, the smaller one, is for your chin. Now you'll see up here it says cut on the fold. That means this edge here, when we cut it out, needs to be on the fold of the fabric, so that when you open out the piece of fabric, you've got a piece that's twice the width of this. I'll explain that in a bit more detail later on. Now down the bottom here is where we're going to put the pleats in. Now I've put the measurements in, but to be perfectly honest, nobody's going to be checking the efficiency of your pleating. So, I mean, you can measure them out, and the measurements are 3 centimetres from each end, then 1 centimetre for your pleat, then a gap of 2 centimetres, and then 1 centimetre for the centre pleat. So you can do that if you'd rather. Okay. So here we've got a piece of cotton fabric. Now it's really important that you use 100% cotton fabric. What they're saying is that this virus is absolutely tiny. It ranges from 0.06 microns to 0.12 microns or something, which is way smaller than the average cold or flu. So by just tying a scarf around your nose, that's not going to hack it. So we need cotton fabric, which is a really tight weave, so that we can avoid the virus penetrating through. Now, these are not going to be as efficient as the masks they use in hospitals that have the R95 filter on them, but by increasing the layers of fabric, we are going to improve their capabilities. So I've got this for my top fabric, for my face fabric. Then I've got some cotton sheeting for my lining, and we're also going to put in a pocket. So I've used 100% cotton sheeting. You can use a tea towel, pillow cloth, a pillowcase. You could maybe use an old cotton shirt or something along that, but please try to use pure cotton, not poly cotton. So I've cut these two pieces out already, and I made a template in cardboard. So let's just get rid of those ones a minute. Now you'll see that I've actually bent the corners back, and that is so that I could easily put my template on, push them back and draw the line in. So that's going to be my sewing line. So if I've got this one here, if I show you, I'm going to turn it so that it's right sides together. So I've got the wrong side showing. And then I've got a fold there. And that fold is going to be where I place the fold line on my template. So that was the 17 centimetre length line, the longest line. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut out around this edge, and this edge, so on 3 sides, but I'm going to leave this edge intact. So I'm going to go away and do that, and then I'll be back. There you go, I've got my 3 pieces cut out now, all with their pencil line for sewing the bridge of the nose dart and the chin dart. So I'm going to sew those up now. I will do a reverse stitch at the beginning and the end of each line to make sure that it doesn't come undone when we're putting the mask together. So you'll see here I've stitched along those 2 lines for the chin and the nose. And what I've also done now is I've trimmed those darts back on all of the pieces. So I'm just going to do this one here, and then I'm going to press them with the seam allowances pressed to one side to make it even more enclosed, so we won't have stitches showing. So we're going to press it over to one side like that with the iron. Okay, so all 3 now have been pressed. And you'll see that the front fabric, I've done a very simple, I've just pressed 1 fold over on each of the sides. So we've got the short dart here, which is the bottom for the chin, the long dart here, which is the long one for the bridge of the nose, and I've turned the 1 turning on each of the sides. I've done the same for the lining piece, so it's just a single fold. And then for the 3rd piece, this is going to be our pocket, and I've done a double fold on the sides, on the edges of this one, so it's slightly narrower. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew just the pocket one, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew along the edge on each side, but I'm going to put in a pleat. And I'm just going to sew that in place. Don't worry about accuracy. What we want to do is to shorten the edge on this side and the edge on this side. You'll see why later on. So I'm just going to go and sew those and put the pleat in just roughly. The only thing I would say is make sure that both the pleats go in the same direction. There you go. We've got a pleat on each side now, and they both go in the same direction, so it makes it slightly narrower. What we're going to do now is we're going to combine, we're going to start sandwiching all these pieces together. So if we start with the front side of the lining, find the nose dart, that's the chin, the longer one, the nose dart, and turn it so that the rough side is underneath. Then on top of that, you're going to sandwich the nose dart of the pocket so that you've got both the right sides facing up. Then on top of that, you're going to put the front piece of fabric with the wrong side facing up. So once you've got that all sandwiched in place, you're going to line up all your darts and then pin all the pieces together. Here we go. I've lined up all the seam allowances, and what I did was I alternated the direction of each seam allowance so that you're not machining through such bulky areas, so alternated the direction that they go in. So here we've got all 3 pieces sandwiched together. It's a bit unwieldy because you've got that smaller pocket in the middle, but it'll be fine in a minute. You'll see once you've got it all clipped together, you're going to sew just directly along the bottom edge and the top edge, and you're going to sew right through those where you press the edges back. There you go. I've done really tiny seam allowance along those two edges. That's because we're going to top stitch in a minute, so it doesn't need much, and also it makes it a whole lot easier when we turn it through. What we're going to need to do now is snip all the way along this edge where the curve is and on this edge, so that we can turn it through easier. So I hope you can see there how I've trimmed right up to the stitches. And what we're going to do is turn it right side out now, and then we're going to press the seams so we've got a nice crisp finish. So there you go. If you find that these don't turn out nice and smoothly, then just turn it inside out again and clip that seam allowance just a little bit more. Be really daredevil and go right up to the edge. So what we're going to do now is we're going to top stitch all the way along here over where we've got the turning on the two sides, and that will just secure the stitching. But we're also going to put in some pipe cleaner, or if you've got twist ties for sandwich bags, that sort of thing, and we're going to put that on the top edge, which will allow us to secure this around the bridge of the nose. So you can just see that I've got my pipe cleaner in there, so I've just enclosed that in, pushed it nice and snug up to the seam allowance, and I'm just going to hold it in place whilst I go and sew. Now you'll see the error that I've made when I cut my fabric out. I've actually got my cats upside down. So but this is my note, the longest dart, so that's where we're going to put the pipe cleaner in. There you go. So you've got the rigidity from the pipe cleaner now, so that we can actually shape it around each individual's bridge of the nose, because one thing we do need to make sure is that these fit really snugly. Okay, so we've almost finished. Now we're going to put the attachment, so how we hold it onto our face. I'm using elastic, so I've got regular elastic here, which is, I've got two pieces that are 17 centimeters long. I've made some with the cord elastic as well. You could also use ribbon, which you then tie behind your head, or tape. If you go on the Riley Blake website, which I talked about where I got the template from, then she shows you how you do it without turning it through, and you put the tapes and they tie behind your head. But I've adapted it so that we can use elastic around the ears. So we're going to put the elastic in before we put the pleats in. So just going to pop the elastic in here and pin it, and then the same the other side and pin it. And then when we've done that, we're going to put the pleats in. And I've done this side already. Now, nobody is going to be checking the standard of your pleats, so please don't worry about it. The only thing I would say is that make sure that when you're sewing along here, that you don't sew over your pins and break your needle. I will go over my elastic several times to make sure it's really secure. So here's our finished mask, and as you'll see, I've went over the elastic several times to make sure that it was really secure, and also made sure that all the pleats were facing the same way so that it's nice and smooth over here, not twisted. And if we just turn it over, you'll see that because we did those two really big folds on the pocket, that's well back from where you were stitching here, so you're not going to sew that in. And also because we made that fold, that pleat in the pocket itself, you've removed some of the volume, so it's not going to be really stuffy in there. So next, why we've got a pocket? Well, to increase the efficiency of these, we're going to put a filter in that's made out of a vacuum cleaner bag. Obviously, the whole idea of vacuum cleaner bags are that they keep tiny particles inside them rather than spraying them all over your house. So on several posts I've seen now, it's saying use the paper bags for your vacuum cleaner. So I'm just going to cut a piece to slide inside our mask. I've left the sealed edges on just to hold all the different layers together. As you can see, there is loads of different layers, and that hopefully is what's going to be restricting the penetration of the virus. So there's a fluffy layer and well, various layers anyway. So I was making a bit of a meal of that, but there you go. Just slide that inside the pocket and push it in nice and secure. And there you have it. Now, obviously, I've been handling this a lot. I would take out the filter and actually wash the mask before I even used it. And then it's really important to change that filter regularly, and also not to touch this area here. When you put it on and off, you do so by holding the elastic. And then these masks need to be washed regularly. I would say every day. Apparently you can put them just into a hot oven as well. I don't know about the detail of that, but you can check that out online. The important thing to remember is that moisture will stop these being efficient. Now we've got 3 layers of fabric and we've got that filter in there. So this is a pretty secure mask. But when you've started breathing into this, the moisture in your breath is going to make it damp. That's why they're saying after 20 minutes they're ineffective. So only wear it when you really need to, and then remove it, and remove it by holding the elastic on the 2 edges. Try not to touch this area here, because this is where people are going to be breathing. And the final thing I want to say about them is, just because you're wearing a mask, you still have to adhere by the 2 meters social distancing and ensuring that you wash your hands really thoroughly. Please don't go putting these on with dirty hands. Wash your hands before you put this on your face to keep yourself as safe as possible. So here you go, the finished mask. A really snug fit where the pipe cleaner and the dart are shaping over the bridge of the nose, and we've got the dart under the chin. And the only thing that's wrong is I cut my fabric out upside down. I'm really annoyed about that, but hey, none of us are perfect. That's such a bad joke. I really apologise. Anyway, good luck making yours, and stay safe and well. Thank you. Bye.